So this week, we want to talk about the practice circles and development circles that are online and the difference and what to expect and all of that. So I'm going to let you go first. What are your definitions for practice circle and development circle?
Well, practice circle, I believe, is just when people get together and they practice on each other. They practice on other mediums, and they kind of within their own selves work on things that they need to maybe work on, whether they want to work on names, or they want to work on dates, or they want to work on getting more spirit communicators, multiple communicators. So for me, practice circle is just that, where there's really no input from the monitor, but I do believe that the monitor of the circle needs to be experienced within mediumship, because sometimes there might be a need for a little push or a little correction. I hate to use the word correction, but maybe just some
Guidance.
Just a little direction and guidance. Yes.
Well, that and the energy, I don't know that we recognize sometimes, but even in a computerized Zoom circle, the energy component is important. And if you have somebody more experienced, they're able to recognize that energy and actually help pull in, so that even a more inexperienced medium may be able to get a contact where they may not have before. And if you don't have that energy component, oftentimes people don't know, am I recognizing soul information? Am I recognizing a communicator? And like you said, maybe there's guidance or correction. So we can fall into, which is actually a topic that we wanted to talk about, fall into talking about people's lives or sensitive information that maybe need to be reworded or left off the table altogether.
Right. Yeah, the less experienced medium, without knowing, sometimes we'll touch on certain subject matters that may be sensitive to the sitter, even in circles, even with mediums that are experienced. I know that one time somebody had connected to me, and they started going on and on about my relative's passing, which was very traumatic, very, very traumatic. And I said, no more. And the person kept on going on and on. And this person was maybe under a year experienced or so, and she didn't understand why I didn't want to hear anymore. And I had to explain to her, look what the information you're bringing through.
Right.
So if I was a regular person, I would probably ran away.
Right.
Say, doing this again, because it was like I said, it was a very traumatic passing. And she goes, but I want to give you blah, 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 blah. I said, I know you want to do that. That's your ego. But what is the need of the sitter? I gave you the need right there. I said, stop. That was my need, to stop. I understand who you have. Don't go on with the reading anymore.
Or really, what is the true need and of the communicator, even? Because I think there's a false perception that the quote, give what we get, and yet when we merge with that spirit person, we have everything all at once. And then we are the ones that recognize that information. Now, maybe recognizing some aspect of the passing might be important for information, for evidence. So for example, a reading that I had once with a family, there was information that the sitter had drowned, and there was actually information that he got caught on something, and that's how he drowned. But that was important for them because they thought he may have done it on purpose. And the evidence saying I got caught was evidence that it was an accident, so the family could leave that part alone. Do you see what I mean? But there was a lot more there that was, me saying I got caught was enough, no matter how else we're feeling all of that information, because it's all going to be there as soon as we recognize that energy. Depending on how practiced we are, is how much detail is available to us in that. And then it's up to us. I mean, we're the filter.
Well, yeah, that's just it. Because they will give us all the information, but it's a trusting relationship between spirit and the medium. So they're trusting that, yeah, here's my life, but use your discernment.
Right.
So in a sense, it's, yeah, I got this pile of information. Do I give what I get, well, let me just kind of round it out a little bit using my discernment to kind of curb the sharp edges of that reading, soften up those soft edges,
Mhm.
such as, I see a gentleman, let's say I see a hanging, I'm not going to say I see a hanging. I'm going to say, I understand I have a gentleman that is coming through and that he's taken responsibility for his own passing. There may have been a blockage of air. So it's a way to kind of curb that rough edge rather than go, I have a guy hanging from a tree. Wow, that's a punch in the gut.
Especially in a public situation like what we have in our circles. There's just, there's no reason to embarrass somebody or to make everybody uncomfortable, because some topics are just uncomfortable, especially if there's abuse or different types of abuse triggered different buttons than others. And just to say, I recognize this personality was not always really nice to people, especially maybe this person, that's enough. Your sitter knows what the heck's going on at that point.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point when you're bringing in people that may have had a lot of rough edges themselves. So you have a guy here that wasn't a very nice person. But we as mediums, and we want to be sensitive to the people, the sitters, and I see a tendency to try to kind of bypass that and say, well, he really loved his family, blah, blah, blah. Now, if somebody had said that to me, I'd say, you got the wrong guy.
Mm-hmm.
You have the wrong guy. So saying with discernment that, basically, I have an asshole here without saying I have an asshole here. Right. And just using your words in a softer tone, your softer verbiage, saying, I have a gentleman here that had a very challenging personality.
Right.
He was somewhat domineering, so you can use your words without being, again, bullseye right in the middle of the forehead,
Exactly. I had a spirit father that was recognizing his abusiveness, and there was an apology there, which was good. And I say there's not always an apology. Sometimes there's this is how I was and I'm recognizing it. That in this case, I could really feel like the apology part, but it came through as I'm really sorry about the spot on your back. And that was enough. That was enough. You didn't have to go into everything else.
Right.
Right. The communicate, the sitter knew what the communicator was trying to get across, and that was it. Move on to whatever else there is. I think sometimes we dwell, especially again, and that was a private sitting, so I could be a little bit more direct, but in public, it's just not good.
Yeah, there's you brought up a subject of that, delivering a message of, like a rough passing. So let's say that there was a horrible accident and, it's very graphic in your mind. Okay. So when I say it's never really graphic in my mind, but the ideas are graphic. So it's a knowing of things that had happened. So, when I hear people start to describing the death or the passing in something that's tragic like that, that's for their own ego. Because I will tell people if I'm seeing a tragic accident, I will just say that. I will say this is a tragic accident. It may be on a certain road or a certain area, and I might describe that, but I'm not going to go into details about the accident. And I will say to the people, I don't need to go through the details of the accident with you. You know exactly what had happened,
Mhm.
and I know what happened, but we were in a public forum, and and I will say it right out loud. We're in a public forum, and I'm not going to bring it up. And I don't even think I would do that so much if it was private, but I might go a tinge, just a tinge further, but not, again, not being really, really graphic. And I had an experience where I had a friend came for a reading, not my friend, a person came for a reading, and she wanted to hear from her friend, and that's all she said. I want to hear from my friend. And so I went on to say this is a male, and in my mind, I'm seeing a hotel. He opens up the door. It's a bad drug deal. He gets shot in the chest, and it goes backwards, and there's blood splattered all over. It's not a seeing, it's a knowing. So I say, well, I know that his lifestyle was challenging, and I know that there are drugs involved. It's a hotel. He opens up the door, and there's impact to the chest. I don't have to go any further about anything else. And she's like, yes, yeah, blah, blah, blah. So there's that. We have to use, I can't stress that enough. We have to use our discernment.
And the type of passing or the time of passing is like the tiniest part of their life.
Right.
Is like the itty bittiest part of their life. I think sometimes we get stuck on because they are dead, how they got there, instead of the practice of personality, the quote, good times, what they like, is there a vacation, is there a picture, is there, what is it that we can connect to, because I don't know that all the spirit people come to talk about their death point. I don't know that that's the reason, for some, I'm sure, like the one I gave, they had to ease the family's mind, but
Sure.
but why do, I think that's us. I think that's us dwelling on that.
And I think that's some mediums, developing mediums, they get stuck on that. Well, I can't get the passing. I can't get the passing. Well, then they don't want to talk about the passing. Well, that's not important then. Then go past that. Or let me go get a message. My thing is this: if I'm not getting a message right away, then there is no message. I shouldn't have to go get a message. And people get stuck on that. I got to get a message. Let me go get a message. Stop right there. Stop right there. There is no message then. If you have to go get one, there's no message.
The message is, I'm not dead, and I'm here saying hi, remember me.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I think we get away from how beautiful that really, really is. And sometimes it's not in the personality of the spirit communicator to have any kind of message. So I know in a practice circle recently, somebody had my paternal grandfather, and they would kind of stuck on, I don't know why they're here. I don't know why they're here. That he showed up at all was enough, because of his personality, and he was not any kind of spiritual or religious person at all. There was enough evidence for me to totally know that he's in my life and wants to be here. That's huge. That's enough. Why, I don't know that there has to be anything else.
Exactly. There was I was in a circle yesterday, and were you there in that circle? Somebody brought through, maybe you weren't. Somebody brought through a guy that had a deli right down the road from me. I haven't thought about this guy in, I don't know if I ever really thought about him in the spirit world, but everything was spot on. And pastrami sandwiches, and the name, and the exterior of the thing, why did he come through? I have no idea, but that's nice that he came through.
Yeah.
That there's, the only thing I could think of is that was recently in my hometown, but that's not important.
No, it's not, because I don't know, especially when they're like sidestepped like that from our lives.
Yeah,
I really believe, and I know this is up for debate, but I really believe that when we are in that spot to be sitter, especially some of us that are in this work and do these practices all the time, there's some kind of recognition from the spirit world that that energy of that person can move through us. We'll recognize them, and that energy is present enough to go then and move to their family in whatever way it needs to. And
yeah,
that in that moment, we act as like we are the medium, but that's center for that connecting point for the energy. So healing can take place in a way that we just maybe not be able to grasp. Right.
right, right,
And
right.
that isn't that a cool thing. So it doesn't have to always be like for us per se,
Right.
but that we're willing to hold that space and listen and say, I notice you, and holding that energy line open so that the energy can flow to the family. How cool is that?
Right. Now, we were supposed to be talking about
Oops.
circles. I know, we veered off. So I think we just have a few minutes, but so development circles. So what is your definition of development circles?
Development, yeah,
Practice.
development would be that teacher element. So there'd be somebody in the circle that people recognize as having a little more insight to move it along, to help people to either, and there's many ways, have a lesson or an activity or you know, or guidance in some way, that there is a designated, I don't know any other word than teacher,
Right.
that is a facilitator for that. So it's, if we talk about if we're going to separate up the words unfoldment and development, unfoldment's that natural process. And the development is,
Right.
I'm going to get some extra insight on the process from
Right.
somebody that has done it before.
Yeah, usually how I run my development circles, more class-like structure, even though it's not like a full class, but it's like maybe 20 minutes of a certain topic pertaining to mediumship, and throw out a Q&A there, and then throw out maybe an exercise or something that they want to do. And then we kind of go back to the circle, and I like to keep my circles. I do not like, what do they do on the Zoom meetings, the private rooms? What do they call the breakout rooms?
Because
I don't like breakout
way
rooms.
to help monitor the energy with that, or to catch somebody in the moment and say, think about this way, or are you feeling this? There's no way to do that when you do the breakout rooms.
No, there's not. And that's why I like it to be, one room. So that way I can interject when I need to interject. And I let my people know I'm interjecting like before you're reading. Because I did have one girl that I was doing a private read for, and I told her, when you go to practice with somebody, I will interject things. And she goes, oh, that's fine. No, it wasn't fine. Because then she said to me, you're interrupting me. And I said, I told you I was going to interrupt you. So I think it's very, very important for the teacher to be able to, or the person guiding, whatever you want to call it, the coach, to say, okay, go back and get more information. Or, because I see a lot of, maybe newer mediums that kind of bypass a particular piece of evidence.
Right.
And not understanding that it could be a symbolism or a reference to something. Right. And you could tell a whole story about that one thing that you just went, oh, well, that means what? I don't know what that means, but so it's important to have that person standing there going, over here, go over there, kind of direct.
Exactly right. And when you have and most of the time, at least for me, if I have a development circle, it's more closed. So it's it ends up being a similar group of people for a span of time, so that it can actually, you can actually mold what's happening based on the needs that are present in that group,
Right.
which is not possible with a practice circle with different people coming and going all the time. There's no way to get a handle on, oh, this group is really good at this, or we need to practice this, or,
right.
So in a development type situation, it's easier to do that. And I think we're on the same page with this. For me, most of the time, at development circle, there'd be some kind of exchange of funds because there's extra energy to prepare, to monitor.
Absolutely.
And practice circles are a little different because, I may say a couple words and teach that day, or I may just be like, okay, next. Depending on, what's going on in the circle.
Well, yeah, once in a blue moon, and I say blue moon, once in a blue moon in the mediumship reading room, I will give away a class or something like an hour class, and that's it. But I have made sure in the past that, I'm going to separate. So a practice circle is a practice circle. And in the mediumship reading room, we do all that for free. All the practice circles are for free. But there are some people that do the practice circles that are also teachers, and they have development circles. And again, it's a little extra money. It's either $10 or $15 or whatever it may be. But there is preparation for that. And there is teaching with that, constant. So that's why there's a cost of money as far as that is concerned. But I will say this, if you are going to a development circle, and the person that is leading the development circle, the medium that is the tutor, the coach, the guide, whatever. And I'll say this with anything, if you're going for even private classes, research that person, get a reading from that person, or if they do live dems or, view their live dems. I've seen so many people get sign up for a class and they have never seen the person do a reading. Never, ever seen them do a reading. Never seen them on YouTube doing a reading, never seen them on live Facebook doing a reading, never got a private reading for them, never saw them in circle. But they talk a good game, they must know what they're doing. Oh, they have an accent. Okay, they're good. No, so I had to throw that in there. So, so yeah. So you have to research your mediums that you are getting coached by / teached.
Yeah. And then, somebody you feel very connected to this year may not be the same person you feel connected to 2 years from now, and it's to give yourself leeway to shift like that if you need to. Because I know, my first circle was really instrumental in getting me to sit still and to recognize things. But the teaching, the teaching ability, the teaching recognition in that circle, I outgrew pretty quickly and had to go and move into a different perspective that matched up more with where I was going. And I don't know that there's anything wrong with that. We can recognize it's good for me now, and now I need to go to this now.
Yeah, I've had plenty of students, I've had plenty of students that have started with me and they moved on.
Yeah.
And that's fine. There's a different need that they had, and vice versa. I had, a lot of students that come to me that had so-and-so and so-and-so, and then they want a different flavor. Mm-hmm. It's just a different flavor, or a different perspective of certain things. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say about circles before we wrap it up?
No, we'll probably think of something next time. So when are we going to do this? Once a week on a Tuesday?
Yeah, well, the goal is once a week. And if anybody has questions they would like us to put in our queue, to send them in.
Yes, that'd be great. All right, Jen. Thank you.